If your reality is a reflection of your consciousness, okay, if what you're creating in your life is a direct result of how you're consciously feeling, then what you want to do, and I've said it before, if you've been following me, you need to understand the things you keep alive in your life, the things that are those feelings you're giving life, the feelings you're giving life to and continue to feed are through consciousness, right? Consciousness feeds those feelings. Consciously aware of how you feel. Consciously understand, you're aware of your circumstances. Your senses tell you that. What you want to do is go above that. What you want to do is let go. And in the process, this is important too. Hear this. And sometimes, and I'm guilty of this, sometimes we want to hold on to the outcome and be so attached to outcomes and expectations of how it's going to turn out. Listen here. Take this little quote that I came up with. I say, listen, when you know your what's and whys, your hows begin to show up. When you know your what's and whys, your hows begin to show up. It's like, what do you want? I want emotional freedom. Why? Because I want to live my very best life. How is it going to happen? You're not sure, but trust the process that it's going to happen. Trust the process. You cannot fail unless you fail to feel better than you currently feel. Because right now you probably feel like shit or pretty close to it. If you're anything like I was, I felt worse than that. It was rock bottom. The worst feeling, debilitating depression, paralyzing anxiety, major suicidal ideation, and chronic insomnia for years. It sucked. So you're looking at somebody and hear from somebody who is below rock bottom. Okay, so I get it. So what I'm saying is that how I got through it was I eventually began to love my meditations. It was the only place I could go for escape, because our minds are so fucking creative and powerful that if you can get your mind on something bigger than your current situation without being attached to expectations and outcomes, that process is miraculous. It really is. It's a fascinating process how this works with the brain, the neuroplasticity. So you have to trust the process that if you do the work, if you apply what I'm sharing with you in your meditations, take your most creative power, the imagination, ask yourself, how would I feel if I was experiencing emotional freedom? What would that feel like? And I gave you a hack one of the last videos. Because you may say, I don't know. I don't know what that feel like. Well, okay, benefit of the doubt, I'll give that to you. Even though your brain is very creative, you can imagine something better than you're feeling now. I know you can. But if you want a hack, the hack that I use, and I got this from Dispenza, he said, put your mind on the universe and just become space, become a nothing, nobody, just become the energy of the universe. I broke it down even more simpler than that. When I was in my meditation, I'd say, what would I feel like if I could become, the dominant feeling was the feeling of the space in this room. How would I feel if I could feel the dominant space in this room? What would that feel like? Because the feeling of the space in the room, again, you've heard me say it before, is not depression, right? It's not anxiety. It's a really just relaxed feeling. And eventually, maybe you'll be like me and you get to the point where you actually enjoy going to the meditation, because it can almost feel like an escape for a second, give you a break of that constant negative feeling that depression gives you, right? Or anxiety. And I was beat up emotionally, physically, and mentally. Like beat up. Felt like shit, right? Just if you maybe you're going through the same thing. It's not just a sad day. It was a fucked up feeling throughout my entire body. Like it was like just felt like shit. I can't explain anything better than that. That's probably a massive understatement. It just was awful. So at least in my meditations, eventually I got to the point where I could use my imagination to just quiet things down for a second, for a few minutes, and then eventually for 35, 45 minutes. And it was finally giving me some peace and relief. And now to this day, being completely on the other side of it, I still do the meditation. I refuse to give it up. It works so damn well. Why would I stop doing it? You see, If you're like me, you have an addictive personality, what's going to happen is that probably going to find out, well, shit, this feels so damn good. I'm going to put the pedal to the metal, put the hammer down, and I don't want to stop feeling this good. I want to keep doing it. I want more of it, right? And it's satisfying. It's fulfilling, right? It's not fleeting moments of happiness like I was so used to, running and chasing shit and then have it last for like the icing on the cake. It's gone, right? In a few minutes, it's gone. And that's a lifetime of that can be very unsatisfying, very unfulfilling, and not rewarding at all. And that led to major depression. So what you're consciously aware of being, it's what you're consciously producing in your life. I've heard the example before. If you're in prison, your desire is freedom, right? If you're hungry, your desire is to be nourished. If you're depressed, your desire is to experience emotional freedom. So again, the seeds of I am. Right now, without even using words, you're saying, I am depressed. I am feeling hopeless. I am anxious. Whatever you're saying, whatever you consciously feel, you're producing in your life, right? You keep feeding it. And you may not even be aware, but what that is doing, slow down, Brett, is continuing that loop. That's what that's doing, right? You can continue dropping those seeds of I am in the garden, and they're going to sprout no matter what it is. And I said it before, you're dropping seeds of cucumbers and you expect tomatoes, it's not going to happen. You're dropping seeds of negativity and expect to live a life of emotional freedom. It doesn't work that way. So you want to change the thought process, right? And that imagination either can fuck you or free you, right? And I understand that. My imagination was so powerful that it fucked me for a long time. It got me into some really bad situations. It fucked me into a tailspin. Let me just say that, right? It was awful. But I knew if I could change the energy, change the thought process and use the same energy, it's never destroyed or created or destroyed. It just changes form. I know myself. I know that once I go after something, it's like a fighter pilot in a F-14 jet, a fighter jet. You're just honed in on it, right? You're locked in on that target. And unfortunately, my brain got locked up in some bad shit and took me into a tailspin, and that's how I wound up in major depression. But I can change that, see, and so can you. You can change the direction, take your focus away from the negativity, and put on something better for yourself, and that is emotional freedom. Does that make sense? And how do you do that? In meditations, affirmation, visualization. The creative power you have is that imagination. I looked at it this way. I'd rather use skills than pills. And I'm not advising anybody to jump off their pills. You talk to your doctor about that, but I said, fuck it to the pills. I had enough. I had enough of those pills. And I was prescribed over 20 different medications, probably closer to 25 or 30, and none of them working. You name it. Prozac, Lexapro, Trintellix, Zoloft, the list goes, Xanax, Ambien, all that stuff, all of it, just you name it, I probably is on it. So if you can understand what I'm saying, is that I've personally felt that I would be better off without the medications, right? So I cured my depression naturally. Now, I'm not, again, big disclaimer, talk to your doctor, but for me, that's what I did. If I'm going to be transparent with you and on these videos and share everything I got, be very real with you and very direct, then I'm going to tell you the truth. That's what I decided to do. It was a bold move, but it worked for me, right? And the biggest thing for me was I had to believe. Believe is a huge word. Highlight that with your mental highlighter in big, bold, black letters. Believe that it's possible, because if you believe it's possible, your brain's going to feel it's possible. And with this consciously believe it, you consciously believe it's possible for you. And what that conscious does, it impregnates the subconscious mind with that belief. And the subconscious is not going to say yes or no. The subconscious is going to take it for face value and start with a volition to act and act upon that belief. So that's pretty cool if you understand how that works. The conscious mind impregnates the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind then says, okay, let's get to it. Let's act on that belief. So right now you consciously believe you're depressed. And the subconscious mind is not going to say, no, you're not. It's going to say, okay, if you're telling me you're saying you're in your state of depression, I'm going to take it for face value. It doesn't judge it, good, bad, or indifferent. It just takes it for what it is. So that's the good part. That gives you hope that if you can take these ideas I'm sharing with you and begin to implement them, right, with some positive beliefs, consciously believing you can experience a life free from anxiety, depression, whatever you're going through, any mental health challenges you're facing, believe it's possible for you and watch what happens. And stick with what's going to happen if you're 6, 8, 10, 12 months down the road and say, holy shit, I can't fucking believe it. How good do I feel right now? How good do I feel? Because you stuck with it and you did the work, right? You saw above it. You went above and beyond your ordinary senses, because the senses are going to tell you how you're feeling, but the imagination can override that. When you walk into a store, sometimes the sales clerk says, oh shit, I fucked up. I got to call the manager because I need an override. Well, override the mental condition, the program you're dealing with right now with the imagination. Use the creative imagination to override your mental programming, right? Make some mental adjustments and understand that because you're in a situation right now because of mental conditioning, and when you override that, your brain's going to react to that. It has to react to that, right? In 15, 20, 30%, 40% better in 6, 8, 10, 12 months. And before you know it, I was at 100% better with 0% depression. To this day, 0%. I don't wake up depressed at all anymore or anxious at all. And anytime, let me say this, anytime I hear or sense that whisper of well, what if, or that old programming starts to try to sneak in, it's not a big deal anymore. You just kind of, like I said before, you just kind of blow it off, brush it off. You understand it's just a quiet whisper, not a loud yell like it used to be in my fucking head while I'm trying to sleep, right? It was all nightmares, nighttime anxiety, awful. More trips to the emergency room than I care to remember because of fucking panic attacks. So I want to give you my worst. You know why? If I give you my worst, and if I tell you how bad I had it, it's going to give you hope to know that if I got through it, so can you. And I say that every video, right? And that's why I'm putting these videos out there and creating these channels for people who are looking for encouragement, inspiration, hope, and belief, because you're tired of being depressed. And you refused to allow depression to steal your fucking joy, right? You just had enough. You had enough of it. And that's where I was. I just said, you know what? I have had enough. I am fucking sick and tired of feeling this way. And I got raw. I really did. Now, that's not everybody's style. I understand that there's a million channels out there. Not everybody's going to say it like this, but I'm saying it like this because I feel that there's more than one person, that I'm not the only person in this world who was at the point that said, fuck it, I'm done. That's where I was. And then if I would have had somebody like me in my face and up my ass with these videos like this, it probably would have expedited it, accelerated the process. But then again, I wouldn't be here sharing my experience with you. So it all happens in perfect timing. So I'm sharing with you everything I have to give you the hope and inspiration, encourage and belief that you can get through this. And I truly wholeheartedly believe that. Hit me back, send me the messages, subscribe, the likes, comment, whatever you need to do to reach out to me, and I will share with you anything I can, any way that I can to help your journey become easier. You guys stay and be fucking bold. I will see you in the next video.